So I want you to imagine that you're watching a series, and it's one of those amazing series that everyone is talking about. And it gets to that point around, episode 30 or 40, well into it. Every episode is an hour long, so you've dedicated some time to this series. And then it starts mentioning shit that you have never even heard about. It starts talking about the world order and, this character and that character and, the plot of the enemy that has never come up before. It's very Kingdom Hearts. And it turns out that you had to watch about 6 or 7 other series before you could actually get to this point in the series. And that is Storm King's Thunder. Allow me to explain. Storm King's Thunder is a module created by Wizards of the Coast, naturally, and it features the enemy of the month, giants. Basically, giants have a system that is much like India, a caste system, where God has said, you guys are at the top, you guys are below them, you guys are below them. Basically, there's a food pyramid of giants in order to indicate their order. So, because of the events of a previous adventure, Tyranny of Dragons, God basically said, hey, you've gotten fat and lazy, and fucking left. And all of the giants felt God leave. So God leaves, and all of the giants go, oh my God, our caste system has been broken. And rather than being normal, they all decide we want to bring back the caste system, but with us on top. And I think that's very reminiscent of what the real world would actually do. So all of these giant lords say, fuck you, and head off. And everyone has gone Game of Thrones levels and are trying to get to the top of the ordning, their caste system. And they have made it everyone else's problem. So that's the backstory of this adventure. And your players are some common schmucks that get involved in all of this. So I want to say that I love the beginning of this adventure. The optional beginning, levels 1 through 5, they say you can skip those, but it's the best part of this module to me. You see, it starts off in a little town called Nightstone that is surrounded by water. And basically what happened in Nightstone was just before the players arrived, the place got freaking demolished by cloud giants who just rolled up in a goddamn sky castle and just pushed boulders onto the entire place. And that's awesome. So all the people scatter, naturally, and then the place is overtaken by goblins. The players show up, take care of them, and then level 1 through 5 is just handling all of the problems of Nightstone. As they handle goblins, basically the cartel, and this guy who looks a lot like Butch from Fallout 3, and he runs a gang called the Seven Snakes. Funniest shit ever. So, they handle him, some orcs, and then they have to go save the people of Nightstone from the lowest of giants, which are actually ogres, who are not even on the ordning, they're just giant kin. And that's the beginning, and it's amazing. And then as the players are leaving, they are heading off to greater expanses, a freaking cloud giant in this tower that actually has a wizard hat shows up and he says, hey, I saw your kids just down below. You going somewhere? You hitchhiking? I'll take you there. Let's go. And that's the beginning of the entire adventure. And it's awesome. I love it. And I was so disappointed for the rest of it. So basically with Storm King's Thunder, they went and grabbed some of their previous modules and basically sprinkled those in, and they had created a thing just a year prior called the Sword Coast Adventure Guide. And they said, this will be the open world Sword Coast adventure guide module where we guys, you don't understand. It will be amazing. It will be this big open world adventure where you could go anywhere in the Sword Coast. And that's the issue with this adventure. So, whenever you are thinking of a open world adventure, whether, a story, a film, a television series, a game, a TTRPG, whatever, there are two methods that I like to say for how to explore it. The first one is inward web. An inward web is kind of like you have like one central location, just like a city, just a small area in the world. And the center of the web is, wherever the main characters are connected to. And then the strands of the web just kind of go to points of interest within the city. TTRPGs do this pretty effectively, such as Blades in the Dark. Heart the Say Beneath is a example of this, and you can see this in plenty of video games, such as BioShock or Dishonored, things like that, where it's just one location, but it's an incredibly explored location. The strength of an inward web is that you're able to really build up this one location and get us connected to everything about it. The opposite of that is the outward web, where it is a giant sprawling mass, and there is the location that we kind of see as our home, and then there's this big web that goes everywhere out to all of these other locations of interest. This is probably the most explored method that you will find in video games, such as anything created by Bethesda, BioWare. All of those are outward web. The strength of this is that you are not married to a single location, and you're able to change up the setting constantly, and you're able to explore cool ideas outside of the realm of the place that you normally are in. Both of them have strengths. In fact, I would say that there really isn't a weakness to either of these. The fact of the matter is that it is normal within a story for it to be, the areas between the strands where it's a lot of empty space. That's normal. And then, there's points of interest. Both work effective. The issue with Storm King's Thunder is it tries to split the difference, where it is this large sprawling world with every location in the Sword Coast. But most of the locations in the Sword Coast have nothing. You get maybe a paragraph or two to every location with an event that reminds the players, hey, by the way, giants. So there isn't a lot to work with. You end up with, yes, location number 1 is a town, and location number 2 is a town, and location number 3 is a town. Is there anything of interest to them? No. And these big encounters, which, I'm not kidding, a lot of these encounters have upwards of like 30 to 40 enemies, if not more, basically laying siege to a town. And that's already a weakness of 5th edition. 5th edition is not made for a war-based system. It's made for quick epic combats between players and a few enemies. So when you start introducing these mass combats, the book doesn't work very well with that. And the thing is, they don't give maps for most of these locations being sieged, so I kid you not, I spent probably more time trying to create all of the necessary stuff for these encounters than I did if I was just running my own homebrew world. It's a lot of prep to create a module which is the antithesis of what the modules are made for. So you end up with a lot of empty space with a lot of locations that don't really have anything of interest worth exploring. And ultimately, the intention is that there's just kind of 3 big locations that the players are supposed to go to, and then a massive siege happens. And they tried to do something that I thought was really cool, which is they created all of these little stat blocks, like 6 little stat blocks for every location. And they go, hand these to your players, hand them to your players, and let them play as these little NPCs that are connected to these little locations. Except that doesn't work, because players don't know how to handle that. Players are not grounded in the reality of that the GM has to explore, of like, yeah, this is just a common schmuck who is not ultimately important to the story, it's a common schmuck. The players go, what the fuck? I'm playing a barbarian with 60 hit points, and you have given me this guy with 10 AC and 12 hit points? I don't know, I'll just run away with them. And after you have settled everything, all of the people that lived basically give your players side quests with little rewards, and again, it's even more prep that is an even bigger headache. So this game, this massive open world game, is one of the biggest headaches to prep for. I had all of the issues prepping for it, and by I think a year mark, I wasn't even halfway done with it and was begging my players, please, here's what you have to do to just move on with the next section. I don't want to handle it anymore. I was begging them for death. Once the players get up north, they come into contact with a frost giant who basically goes, I fucking hate my own kind. Let's team up and just get this all sorted. And he leads them to a oracle place in order to learn about the ordning and why it, and how it's crashed and how everything's gone haywire. And basically the way to move forward is to go take care of these dukes, these giants who have split off from the ordning and are now trying to establish their own world-conquering devices. And honestly, they're so cool. I love all of these giant lords who are doing their own thing. Because they're all so unique. One of them, the hill giant, just wants to eat so much that she envelops the fucking world, and I approve. Now, the issue with this segment of the book is that, honestly, I want each of these giants to have their own adventure focused on them. But the most you will get is, let's see, like 6 pages dedicated to a single one. Basically a single location where their shit is going down. And you get sprinkles of what they are up to throughout the book, but it's mainly just, here's the one location. And I'd much rather have not that. Honestly, if Wizards of the Coast were to release like a 30-page adventure for each of these giant lords, I would buy them and run them. But 6 pages for a single location with a crap ton of enemies and the last of my sanity was enough. When they finally do move forward, you get to this segment of the book where it's basically like, oh yeah, you gotta go get back the Storm King. He's been kidnapped. We don't know who took him. And who took him was a fucking Kraken. And here's the deal, the Kraken is not even the big bad of this adventure. That's kind of it. That's the other big issue with this adventure. There is no singular big bad. Everyone is god-awful. Everyone sucks. Every giant sucks. The Kraken sucks. The Kraken has a bunch of cultists, and honestly, I got to this point in the book and I went, what the fuck? There's a Kraken? What? I forgot that the Kraken existed because it took a year to get to the Kraken. It took a year and a half to get to the Kraken. And the entire instance of the Kraken is that you don't even deal with the Kraken if you're fast enough. So my players didn't even deal with the Kraken. And who put the Kraken up to everything? A dragon. What? And there is this whole premise of like, yeah, behind the scenes, this dragon has been doing all of this crazy shit. But it's not sprinkled enough throughout the entire game in order to really make it relevant. Again, it's the Sword Coast adventure. So they kind of just put cool shit everywhere, but forget the plot. This dragon, let me explain it like this. I want you to think you're watching Star Wars. And Luke is about to have his encounter of a lifetime against Darth Vader. You know, the man who killed his father, but actually is his father. Spoiler alert. And so Darth Vader emerges from the shadows, and it's not Darth Vader. It is instead fucking Voldemort. And you're like, that doesn't seem right. I'm watching Star Wars. I was expecting Darth Vader, but instead I'm getting Harry Potter. Is he still a cool enemy? Yeah, he is. I wasn't expecting him though, and honestly, I'm not married to him in this setting. And then the ending encounter happens, and you know, the players are up against this ancient dragon with another like 40 fucking minions, gargoyles, a shit ton of minions. I wanted to eat my own face running this final encounter, but don't worry. You know that whole thing about that Wizards of the Coast introduced of being like, here's some little NPC sheets. That was all prep to eventually get to this final confrontation and to give the players a bunch of storm giant minions to help them in this combat, as well as potions that turn the players into giants. And basically, these players who are level 10 are now the equivalent of level 20 in terms of their damage output. And, then they killed the dragon, they had a good day. So, to recap, basically my issues with this adventure is that it's too much. It is too much with not enough dedicated to anything. Even the big enemies don't get enough dedication for us to really feel attached to them. And there is a lot of heavy lifting that any GM who is running it will have to do in order to make it work as a coherent story. This module showed so much promise, and I have seen a lot of mixed reviews on it, and ultimately my review is, I hate it. I hate this module. I talk mad shit about it basically every time I am reminiscing about it with my D&D groups. If I were a GM and I bought this module, I would, one, either go find or come up with a war system for these big encounters, and basically create mobs rather than these, 40, 50 enemies. And I would read ahead and create a coherent story. I would read the entire thing and establish from the get-go, these are who I want to be my main enemies, and establish the entire adventure around a line. Because trying to run this as an open world is aggravating and time-consuming and ultimately not memorable. But I will say, after all of these complaints, this book does have some of my most favorite art. The artistic creations in this book are amazing. Yeah, I want to give credit to Kate Irwin as the art director, as well as her entire team of illustrators who created an amazing look across all of these giants. Like, legitimately, each and every giant looks unique and interesting in this book, and I just gotta give them props for it. Oh yeah, I like Guh. Guh's the hill giant who's trying to envelop the world in her fat. I think that's a unique and interesting take on a stupid fucking enemy that we need more of in life. I want more dumb, stupid, massive enemies. I think that, like, if Guh was the big bad of this entire module, I would have been happy. I love, like world conquering we expect from like an intelligent sorcerer or warlord. But you wanna know what's pretty freaking amazing? World conquest from Craig, the town idiot. Goddamn Gorsh, the pickle maker, is gonna take over the world, and you wanna know how? Through the stupidest means ever. I want more of that. If I ever run this again, I will scrap everything about this module except for Gah and have a long adventure focused around this hill giant who wants to eat the fucking planet. Truly a magnificent villain that we can all get behind. Am I right? Maybe a few of the other giant lords, because I don't know, quite a few of them are actually interesting. They all have different methods of trying to reform the ordning, and I don't know, they are cool. They are cool. I just wish there was more actually dedicated to them instead of, 30 pages of empty nothingness that is the Sword Coast. I feel like I should probably put in like an official review here. Go with something else. Go buy, if you're married to 5th edition modules, go grab one of their other products. This one, I think you can pass up unless you're just wanting art and maybe a few cool magic items. Oh my god, I forgot about this thing. Hold on. There is a magical MacGuffin within this world called the Wormskull Throne. It's important because basically it is the throne of the Storm Giants. It was made by the now dead wife of the Storm Giant King, and that's the only thing I can think of as to why it's important. I guess it's just a position of power kind of thing. It's symbolic. Because the Wormskull Throne is one of the worst fucking ideas I can ever think of. Basically is this chair created with the skulls of several dragons, and as part of it, you have to have a scepter. Now it says that you have to be attuned to the scepter in order to sit in the chair, and if you are not attuned, then you are paralyzed in the throne. Why the fuck would you want this in your home? I want you to think about that. Why on earth would you want... It's like having an electric chair in your goddamn house. You come home from a long day, you're like, oh god, I just want to relax. You sit down and you're like, oh, I'm fucked. I'm going to die now. And the thing is, it doesn't even truly follow these rules of like, yeah, if you just have this ruling scepter, if you're just attuned to it, you could sit in it no problem. Because the book breaks this rule. The book has an instance where this dragon, who is, amongst the storm giants, basically goes, oh, I've been found out. I will take the scepter. And now the daughter of the storm giants who is sitting in this is paralyzed. That's not how attunement works. It's not how attunement works, Wizards of the Coast. You made this rule. Why you break it? And one could say maybe. They're an ancient dragon. Maybe they have the power to like break an attunement in a fraction of the time. They go like, bam, haha, you lost attunement, get fucked, and then they're out. But that's not what it says happens. It just says they took the scepter and now she's frozen and she's going to fucking die paralyzed on this god-awful idea of a magic item that they decide to keep in their own goddamn home because they're greedy, stupid idiots. Storm giants are supposed to be the smartest and strongest of giants, but apparently they're so stupid that they can't just be happy with the fucking coral reef throne. They have to have this thing that is made of the skulls of many dragons that they hate as some sort of conquest device that they keep in their homes or in this home, and God forbid any of them make the mistake one dreary night where they can't see and they trip and fall and bam, into the throne, and now they're stuck until morning until someone gives them the scepter to release them. Is it a powerful magic item? Yes. Would I sit in it? Hell no. No, I wouldn't. I'm sorry, it just... I had a 2-hour-long argument with my players about how the fuck this thing is supposed to work, and how much of a stupid goddamn plot device it is. It's such a dumb plot device. Anyway, the rest of the magic items in this adventure are really cool. It's a shame that none of them have really come back. None of them made a staple in order to come back in future renditions of D&D or 1D&D now, because they have a lot of really cool stuff in these. You know, like giant stuff. You know, giants who create these runes on their stuff, imbue them with magic powers, and, you know, they create all of these magic items that have like multi effects, and they're so cool. With this worm skull throne. Anyway, thank you for watching. I appreciate the views. Ah!